Thanks so much for joining us this Super Bowl weekend with security top of mind, as it always is, and with President Trump reportedly scheduled to attend the game in person there in New Orleans. He'll also appear in an interview with Fox News during the pregame coverage, with the president facing a lot of questions about his plans to work with billionaire Elon Musk to make cutbacks or cut some federal agencies altogether, perhaps even much of the Department of Education. Musk has already put pressure on a number of lawmakers this week on social media, including an Indiana senator. Hannah Brandt has more today from our Washington bureau.
The world's richest man is making waves as his power over government seems to grow.
Yes! We don't have a fourth branch of government called Elon Musk.
The White House says Musk is a special government employee, giving him official authority through the executive branch for a limited time. And Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says his main priority is cost cutting as the head of the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE.
And that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government.
Musk has already taken wide-reaching actions, pushing federal workers out of their jobs, gaining access to sensitive government databases, and dismantling key humanitarian agency, USAID.
When unelected billionaires start ransacking our government offices, this is not business as usual.
Some Democrats argue what Elon Musk is doing is unconstitutional because he's acting without congressional approval to cut programs and funding that Congress itself passed into law.
This is an indisputable fact. No authority for spending decisions to shut down programs or ignore federal law.
But President Trump says Musk has his support.
Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval, but he has some very good ideas.
Democratic leaders introduced a bill on Tuesday to try to limit the authority of DOGE.
We are going to do everything we can to sound the alarm and fight.
But with Republicans in control of Congress, the bill doesn't seem to have a path to pass. In Washington, I'm Hannah Brandt.
Hannah, thanks. Meantime, this week, a group of protesters gathered at the Indiana State House and at similar events across the country, rallying against some of the moves being made by President Trump, including his calls to take over Gaza and his work with Elon Musk to get rid of various federal agencies. Meantime, this week, we also spoke with Indiana Congressman Andre Carson about Elon Musk's influence. Carson joined his fellow House Democrats to introduce a bill that would prevent people like Musk from gaining access to taxpayer info like Social Security or Medicaid benefits.
Congress holds the purse strings. Many of this political theater that we're witnessing from Mr. Musk and Mr. Trump is political theater. It is causing great unrest. It is causing anxiety, but Congress has the power of the purse. Many of these things these proposals that they're threatening to implement simply cannot be done, because this money and these dollars have already been appropriated by Congress. And so now we're exploring procedural remedies to push back.
This week, Elon Musk was also in a war of words with Republican Indiana Senator Todd Young, who Musk initially called a, quote, deep state puppet on social media. That was in response to some speculation that Senator Young might not support the nomination of Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence. About 2 hours later, Musk deleted the post and said he had an excellent conversation with Young, who later in the week said he would support Gabbard. News Nation caught up with Senator Young on Capitol Hill.
From her, the sorts of reassurances I required to be supportive, and I'm looking forward to making her successful in this position.
And Senator Young also posted about RFK Jr.'s confirmation process this week, indicating that he's supportive of his confirmation, that he, quote, looks forward to working with him to make positive changes for the American people. Meantime, at the State House this week, House lawmakers passed a bill that would require law enforcement officers to report anyone they arrest to immigration authorities if they have probable cause that the suspect isn't in the country legally. The bill passed the House by a vote of 66 to 26. Some Republicans who supported the bill say there are still issues they want to see worked out as it makes its way through the Senate process. Also at the State House this week, Governor Mike Braun met with local faith leaders who say they're concerned about the governor's move to eliminate many of the state's DEI initiatives. State House reporter Hannah Adamson was there.
Monday, roughly 20 faith leaders within the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, or IMA, met with Governor Mike Braun following his decision to sign an executive order banning DEI initiatives from state government. Faith leaders say they felt the meeting was productive, they felt heard, and they look forward to future conversations with leadership. The conversation lasting for almost 2 hours at the State House, with Governor Braun pushing to extend the meeting, the entirety of which he called productive. Faith leaders say much of the meeting focused on Martin University, the state's only predominantly black university, and a one-time grant for the university that was removed from the governor's budget proposal, something those leaders hope will be restored. The governor says he plans on visiting the university to learn more about what can be done. Governor Braun says today's meeting was not about reversing course on what he's done so far, rather to find common ground and work towards a positive outcome everyone can get behind.
I think it was invaluable to do it. It always gives you a different perspective, not too different from kind of the way I've tried to be interactive, traveling the state, always willing to listen, and you know that. So here it was the beginning of a much longer conversation, and I'm going to be happy to engage in it.
He's committed to continue to talk to communities that were represented here.
This comes as the Senate was set to debate 2 anti-DEI bills Monday, one banning DEI from state colleges, the other banning DEI from K-12 schools. The authors decided to table those bills at the last minute. A spokesperson for one of the authors, State Senator Tyler Johnson, says he's not ready to speak on one of the bills as he's still working on it. Senator Johnson added an amendment that would incorporate parts of one bill into another, so it's unclear if both bills will survive as is. Monday marked the second time these 2 bills have been tabled. The Senate will have until February 19th to get these bills a second reading. Reporting from the Indiana State House, I'm Hannah Adamson.
Hannah, thanks. Now, one of those DEI-related bills did pass the Senate on Thursday. Senate Bill 289 aims to prevent any state agency or publicly funded university from enacting a DEI program. There was a lot of discussion in that hearing about what exactly qualifies as DEI. The bill includes a definition saying it would, quote, manipulate or otherwise influence the composition of employees with reference to race, sex, color, or ethnicity. That measure has now been sent to the State House of Representatives. Meantime, Governor Braun's property tax plan was up for debate this week at the State House. And as lawmakers met with local mayors to hear their concerns, the governor brought 2 Hoosiers into his office to hear theirs. Once again, here's Hannah Adamson.
Something needs to give.
Tuesday, Governor Mike Braun spoke with Hoosiers whose property taxes have sharply increased since the start of the pandemic. Hoosiers who are hopeful Governor Braun's property tax bill will make it past the finish line.
Now we're at $4,200 a year. That's an extra $200 a month.
Everybody has talked about it in our office, so yeah, that's why I'm here.
You're reflecting what many others told me.
This as the Senate Tax and Fiscal Policy Committee took testimony on Governor Braun's property tax bill for the first time. The bill would provide homeowners an option of a 60% homestead reduction or a reversion to their 2021 tax bill. The plan would also cap property tax increases between 2 to 3%.
And it's up to you to prioritize how it goes. That's what we put you there for.
We have the opportunity to provide Hoosiers the relief that they're demanding and they deserve.
I ask you to prioritize the citizens of the state that voted for leadership promising meaningful reform.
However, several county commissioners and mayors who testified Tuesday argue the bill will severely cut funding for essential services.
There's no way to avoid cuts in public safety.
We simply cannot do more with less.
Since 2020, the cost to repave a mile of road has surged 43%.
The negative impacts of this bill would likely lead to a mandated 10 to 15% cut, which would put the city of Terre Haute in a very, very poor position from a public safety standpoint.
The governor emphasized his office will work to find a proper balance between tax relief and funding local governments.
I'm going to always be listening to something that's reasonable because we don't want to sacrifice essential services.
There'll be another hearing next week with the governor also hitting the road for more fireside chats late last week. Meantime, a group of Democratic state lawmakers are introducing a new proposal at the State House that's aimed at boosting Indiana's ability to host major sporting events. Russ McQuaid has more on that from downtown Indy.
They call Lucas Oil Stadium the house that Peyton built, and certainly it was the Indianapolis Colts' investment in a Super Bowl-bound team that poured rocket fuel on Indiana's quest to be a sports tourism leader. And now state lawmakers want to continue to press that pedal to the metal. Indiana Democrats, including a masked lawmaker from Munster, unveiled a slate of legislative action they called the Hoosier Home Field Advantage to capitalize on Indiana's lineup in capturing professional and amateur sports spending. Proposals such as dedicating money to attracting and promoting professional wrestling events, declaring a tax holiday for parents buying kids sports gear, developing the esports industry, and establishing a new state holiday called American Professional Football Day, so that Hoosiers would get paid for taking the day off from work the Monday after the Super Bowl.
I think if we can provide an additional day off for Hoosiers, give them a little bit of extra breathing room, and give them the opportunity to come together for Super Bowl Sunday.
Indiana Sports Corporation alone boasts that the events it's brought to the state and promoted have had a $4 billion economic impact over the last 5 decades. When lawmakers write the new 2-year state budget this spring, Indiana Sports Corp wants to at least match the $10 million it received in State House subsidies 2 years ago, some of which it spends promoting sporting events outside of Marion County. Like in Westfield, where there will be an LIV golf tournament this year, and the city is pursuing a professional sports development area to funnel tax dollars into promoting growth around Grand Park.
You can see the success in Fishers, the new arena, and home to the Indy Fuel and the Indy Ignite, among other events. Noblesville and Westfield both have new facilities coming online.
Lawmakers are gambling that more sports spending is a winner with taxpayers and Indiana communities.
So at this time, give me a hell yeah if you smell what the House Democrats are cooking.
Well, there you have it. That was Russ McQuaid reporting. The lawmaker you saw there in the mask is from Lake County, where state representatives are also proposing a Northwest Indiana Professional Sports Development Commission to encourage construction of a major sports facility and perhaps the relocation of a professional franchise, possibly even the Chicago Bears. We'll keep you posted on that bill. Coming up, we'll look at the security plans for Super Bowl Sunday as federal officials and the president visit New Orleans. And we'll talk with our panel about Elon Musk's war of words with Indiana Senator Todd Young and what some new polling numbers are saying about voters' perceptions of Musk so far. That's next.